Hello, my name is Jennifer Martinez. I'm a graduate student at Bellevue University. This is my oral defense video for my current class in Cyber War and Deterrence. The title of my paper is The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Cyber Deterrence. In my paper, I examine theories and models of cyber deterrence in the United States. The main reason why I chose this topic was due to the recent attacks and warnings about future cyber attacks on the United States. Currently, there is a lack of international law and norms associated with cyber attacks or cyber deterrence, and a lack of a global cyber deterrence posture. The theoretical framework that I established for my paper was to look at the different theories or models, and I started out on the global scale with the United Nations Charter, Chapter 7, Article 51, which specifically addresses threats to peace and acts of aggression. I also noted that North Korea, which is not a part of the United Nations, has been behind multiple recent cyber attacks, obviously showing that they don't care what the United Nations or any part of the United Nations put in place to govern this subject. They're going to go ahead and do whatever they feel is necessary. One theory that it was looked at was counter cyber strikes. And this theory basically is talked about the direct or indirect retaliation of cyber strikes. So someone did or committed a cyber attack upon us, and we would either directly or indirectly retaliate with the same thing against them. International strategy for cyberspace was another one I looked at, and this focused on building open information and communication infrastructures, which in turn would build international norms. The next one I looked at was from nuclear to cyber. This was basically a deterrence for a modern world, taking a nuclear deterrence theory and superimposing it on the cyber world. This has a three-prong approach, with defense, attribution, and retaliation being its focus points. The next one I looked at was the limits of deterrence theory in cyberspace. This again used the three-prong approach of defense, attribution, and retaliation, and also added signaling. Signaling is basically a form of action where you detect or know through intelligence process that your adversary is up to something. They're about to set off an attack, a cyber attack against you, and you advise them that you know that they are up to something, and you stop it before it happens, and also let them know that if they do continue and proceed with their attack, that you will also respond accordingly. The Cyber Deterrence and Response Act was signed in 2018 and established what is considered a cyber attack here in the United States. It also established how people, groups, or nations could be held responsible for their parts in any such type of act. Methods of data collection that I used were applied research to refine my sources, qualitative data collection methods to gather information about theories and methods being suggested for cyber deterrence, and also content and document analysis was used to decipher if the topic was going to be beneficial towards my overall paper focus. Findings that I came up with was, the first one was a unanimous finding amongst all of the theories and models, was the need for international law of norms. It seemed very clear that everyone agreed that that is the first pointing. The next place was nuclear to cyber. In this theory, I found doubts about a smooth transition and retaliation limits. And that's basically because of the nuclear component of that theory. Military to cyber, there were numerous moving parts to this theory, and it seemed to lack a streamlined process, which I think would be harder to implement. There was a warfighting response, which had flaws as far as attribution and equal retaliation, and once again, that's due to the warfighting component of that model. Recommendation that I have is, again, with the overall unanimous finding that we need to have an international law of norms, and I would recommend that the countries within the United Nations come together to establish this international law of norms as it applies to cyber deterrence.